Hello, my name is Solomon Sammy Azar. More important than that, I'm a human being who has fundamentally believed I have solved our energy crisis. Now, the energy crisis. 2 days ago, I have heard our President of the United States give a message about energy, how important it is, about greenhouse gases, how important that is. Energy is the key to civilization itself. Without energy, we would not have done anything. From the beginning, when a caveman might have figured out walking upon sticks to use 2 sticks just to rub it together and to create fire. And from there, civilization began somewhat. Melting ores and metals and protecting yourself from the cold and animals and the harshness of life itself. The harnessing of energy itself is the key to man's development, and in the several thousand years that we have grown as a civilization, it should be apparent that everything built, especially in this last century, is built on the foundations of energy itself. Do we not have several 100,000 troops in the Middle East trying to secure an energy policy? Do we not have so many companies in the North Sea and other places going down several miles of the ocean looking for energy? Or in the frozen Arctic lands looking for energy? Energy is the key to civilization. If you don't believe me, shut off the electricity in your house and you will see how far you'll go without energy. Or even to jump in your vehicle. Energy is the key to all things. Therefore, I fundamentally believe I have found the road to safe, clean energy. And it is my duty to speak up. Everything I have done in my life in regards to science, I have done alone. And now I'm going to take myself on my own as a statement of conviction. I am appealing to my fellow man to repeat my experiments on your own. I've tried to give everything I can on paper in way of a video showing the demonstration because energy is important. It's stability of life itself. What did I do? I believe I have uncovered something so simple that it is exactly the same situation as what happened in the beginning with a simple caveman walking upon sticks and to rub it together and to use it for fire. 21st century, I'm talking about 2 electrodes. Something so simple to conduct electricity, to make energy. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the fuel from water itself. What is water? Water is oxygen and hydrogen. 2 hydrogens bound to an oxygen atom. Makes a molecule we call water. 2/3 of a water molecule is hydrogen. Those in the fusion community know the beauty of hydrogen itself. It's the fundamental building block of the entire periodic table. The majority of all hydrogen bound in water doesn't have a neutron attached to it. It's just a bare naked proton. If you have a neutron attached to it, it's called a deuteron, and with an additional neutron, it's called tritium. Hydrogen is the best candidate to try and fuse together if you can, because it only has 1 positive charge. To try and slam 2 hydrogens together. I say water. I say pure water. I used in my experiment ultra pure reagent grade water. It must be extremely pure. Why does it have to be extremely pure? Believe it or not, this is rubber, and pure water is almost as insulative as rubber. It doesn't want to conduct electricity. You might step in a puddle of water and know to stay away from electricity because you think it conducts electricity, but it doesn't. It's because of all the contaminants inside it. Water on its own is extremely stable. It doesn't want to break apart whatsoever. All right, so what's the trick to make the hydrogens fuse together? I am talking about the power of a lightning bolt. This fascinating display of light and sound that you see in the sky is how we're going to do it. What we need to do is first understand the lightning bolt itself. It's nothing more than a difference of potential. From clouds to ground, we have a difference of electron potential. And when it reaches a certain point of maximum potential, or something, a tall tree or something gets in its way, it's going to want to strike and conduct itself, because all things want to come back down to neutrality. So I am speaking in regards to something that we would call a lightning bolt, but I want to break it down in regards to high voltage and frequency itself. Because I'm talking about a lightning bolt, not that you see in the sky, or wherever you might want to do an electric discharge. Even yourself, who would walk across the carpet in the dry of winter where the humidity is low, and you can build up a static charge and touch something. Believe it or not, that's between 5,000 to 8,000 volts. Very small in regards to current, but the voltage, the potential is high. I'm referring to very high voltage and frequency in conjunction, not to discharge itself in the dielectric of air, but in water itself. Pure water, also with concentrations of, I used heavy water, where there's a neutron attached to the hydrogen. Very expensive. I got this from United Nuclear. Very expensive. But I'm talking about resonating a lightning bolt. High voltage, high frequency, resonating between electrodes. If I have a power source and I can bring it in to something to attach, if these electrodes, and that's all they are, two electrodes. In the beginning, 2 sticks to make fire. I'm talking about 2 electrodes. 2 electrodes under the principle of high voltage and high frequency. Now, voltage. What voltage? I believe there's a minimum theoretical maximum yield of 750,000 volts of an electron field gradient put across this molecule of water that will, under such an electric field, all of us must admit the electrons themselves are totally stripped of all the orbital shells between the oxygen and the hydrogen, and we will have a flow of electrical current, discharge current, between the 2 electrodes, of fundamentally the majority being all electrons, being 1,896 times smaller than the proton itself. But yet, would you begin to see that if I had 2 electrodes, by way of, let us imagine we have a Tesla coil to attach to this thing. The fuel inside doesn't care what's on the outside. It doesn't care how you're driving it, but how I'm going to drive it, how I'm trying to explain how to drive this. Let us envision a Tesla coil. Let us envision 1 million volts, peak to peak. Let us just give it 100 kilohertz as a frequency. And let us just say that between these electrodes, we have this very large electric field gradient oscillating at 1 million volts, peak to peak. Would everybody agree that if this vessel is filled with water, everything within that electric field is going to be subjugated to that 1 million volts? You just can't escape it. A dielectric breakdown will occur upon any material whatsoever. Every material on the periodic table would be made to conduct or discharge the 4th state of matter, from a solid to a liquid to a gas, and to the ionization of atoms and cells, electrical current and ionization. Everything will break down under a strong electric field. Well, I'm talking about pure water. And it takes a lot, actually, to break down, to have a discharge across. You need pure water to do this. Now, a lot of these things I'm saying, I'm assuming that the people who are listening to me understand nuclear physics, fission, and high voltage. Okay? So, because what I'm trying to do here, to solve this energy crisis, is to boil water. How do we make electricity in this world? By far, the majority way to make electricity is to use coal, is to use oil or natural gas, something merely to boil water. Boil water and make steam. Just like your little teapot with the steam pushing out, it pushes a turbine. And that turbine makes electricity. That's how you make electricity in this world. 90% by far throughout the world. You might get lucky, you have a river somewhere, you could dam it up and fill up the valley and have water come down and push a turbine. That's clean. But the world's not filled with energy and valleys, filled with rivers and valleys that you could dam up and create a hydroelectric dam. Well, there is another way of doing it with uranium reactors. Fission rod assemblies we're using. I don't want to get into fission rod assemblies, but what I want to say is I live here in Pennsylvania, about an hour away from 3 Mile Island, which is a fission power plant. Nuclear energy, there's fission and fusion. Fission is the